Welcome to More Wealth Retirement Talk with Shawna and Dave Moore of More Wealth Management. Retirement planning comes with unique challenges like managing market volatility, staying ahead of inflation, and building a strategy that aligns with your goals. On this show, we'll tackle your biggest financial concerns, share actionable insights, and explore strategies to help you navigate your journey to retirement confidence. Now let's get started with More Wealth Retirement Talk.
Hello, and welcome to More Wealth Retirement Talk. My name is Shawna Moore with More Wealth. And if you'd like more information about what you hear during today's show, give us a call at 833-4-MY-WEALTH. That's 833-469-9325. Or you can visit us online at More, that's MOORE, wealthtalk.com. And while at our site, you can click on our radio page, you can check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Today, we're going to be talking about a really common question that comes up all the time is an annuity right for me? What's the good things about annuities, the bad things? Should I include that in my retirement income plan? But before we get started, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Tony Shore. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Well, Shawna, I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me on the show once again. And I like the topic you've picked because there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding out there about annuities, and we're going to dig into that. But first, I've had a great week, spent some time with the family. How about you? What have you been up to? Busy?
We've been busy. It's our son's high school, senior year in high school, so it's baseball season. He had a doubleheader last night. We have a doubleheader tomorrow and on Friday. So it's a lot of baseball for us in our family.
Do you try to make it to all his games?
As much as I can. This week is we've had most of our early games were away, so I made some of those. Some are away where they're a 2 or 3 hour drive, so I missed some of those. But these ones are all at home, so I am trying to leave the office a little early and get home for those games.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what about Dave? We haven't seen him on the show lately.
Well, Dave's been he's been around. He's busy watching Jack, of course, as well, but some other things that we have going on. But he'll be back. It's just a busy time when you have a junior and senior in high school, and but he will be back on the podcast here very soon. Good.
Well, I know he has been busy, and I know between the two of you, you got to cover all the extracurricular activities when you have a couple of teenagers. So
absolutely.
Believe me, I remember those days. It wasn't that long ago for me. So that's great. Now let's jump into this topic. And I don't know why it has become like such a misunderstood topic or a dirty word to some people, but we're talking about annuities. And why don't you tell us, there's misconceptions out there about annuities, and there's some good, some bad, but there's a lot of information that people need to know, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's multiple reasons why there's so much confusion and why people think they're bad. Number one, annuities used to be a lot different. You're talking 30 years ago, there was a lot less options. Number two, there can be other motives behind why some advisors might not recommend annuities, or why some companies will say annuities are bad. They may only be referring to a specific type of annuity. Also, a lot of advisors that are more in the stock market are looking out for their bottom line, meaning that those management fees are going to go down if you take a portion out of your account, your brokerage account, and move it to an annuity. That advisor long term is going to make more income off of your assets if they keep it all in the stock market than if they reposition a portion of it into an annuity, or maybe they do get an upfront commission. Sometimes you can request a lower commission upfront, but in the long run, they're going to make less money by doing so. A lot of times it can also be that the advisor is not really specialized. They don't specialize in retirement income planning, so they don't understand the benefits, or they just don't have a lot of options available to offer their clients.
Right. I think you made a great point there. And I think we need to reiterate it, Shawna, that if you work with a broker who mainly deals with investments in the stock market, Of course, they're going to tell you, hey, you've got $1 million for retirement and it's all invested in the stock market. You need to just keep all of it there, no matter your situation, no matter your age, because that's what they do. That's what they know. So they tell you to keep it all there. And then they don't want you taking $200,000 out of there and putting it in an annuity or 300 or 100, whatever it would be, because they don't deal with that, and they long term make more money if you keep it with them. Then on the other side of the coin, you have some people that all they do is they want to sell you an insurance-based product. They're an insurance salesman, and they just want to sell you whatever they're going to get the biggest commission off of. And people need to realize that. So they might just pitch annuities or life insurance, but what you need is a balance, and work with a financial professional who's a fiduciary and independent like yourself, Shawna, who's going to look at the big picture and look at your particular goals and situation and say, okay, to make sure you have enough money to have income in retirement for as long as you live, if you live to 95 or 100, how can we figure this out? Well, you're going to need to keep some in growth in the stock market. You probably want to get something that's principal protected, right?
Absolutely. And I think either way you look at it, the advisor who says annuities are bad, everything should stay in the market, or the advisor / insurance agent who says the stock market's bad, there's too much risk, you're retiring, you should all be in annuities. Those are both red flags to me, because what it really takes is looking at, first of all, having an advisor who is a fiduciary is very important, but also someone who specializes in retirement income planning, which is what one of my designations is retirement income certified professional, to look at each unique situation to determine, does an annuity make sense for you? And if so, how much? Because what we want to look at is, number one, we want to talk about the different types of annuities. Number two, based on what you have going for you for income, whether you have your Social Security benefit, do you have a company pension? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you have rental income? What income sources do you have that are safe, stable, and guaranteed? And what are your expenses, or what's your income need, and what's that gap look like? Because right now, for example, we've seen a lot of volatility in the market. So if the market has dropped and maybe you've lost 5%, maybe you've lost 10%, maybe it's only 2%. But if you've lost some market volatility, and on top of that, you're taking $5 or $7 or $8 or $10,000 out for your expenses this month, now you have a downward spiral. So you need to have a portion of your portfolio that's safe and guaranteed and protected regardless of what's going on in the market, just to make up that difference between your income sources and your income needs. And so that's what it really looks like, is trying to find that right balance.
Yeah, and there you go. I think that's so important. But you shouldn't try to do any of it on your own. You should work with a trusted financial professional who knows about retirement income planning. And this is where you specialize, and that is so important. But let's talk about annuities now. You've mentioned they're not all the same, right? There are many types. Some are, I think, what's the type of annuity? To me, I've heard about a couple of different types of annuities. I'm familiar with it a little bit. And there's one annuity that has given annuities a bad name just because it's not principal protected and the fees are high. Is that true? That is true. That would be a variable annuity. So what the variable annuity tries to do, and I understand the concept, is they say, hey, we want to still get all this growth from the market, but we want some protection like an annuity to have guaranteed income. So they try to combine or marry the two different concepts into one. So what you end up with is an annuity that has up and down potential. So you're fully invested in the market. You could go up as much as you want, but you could also lose 50%. On top of that, because they want to provide some sort of death benefit. So it doesn't necessarily benefit you as the person who owns the account, but your beneficiaries. Now you have the most expensive form of life insurance because you're paying a fee for that death benefit. There's fees for the investments, and there's fees for the account in itself. So normally you have between 3 to 4% in fees on a variable annuity compared to 0 to around 1% on different types of annuities. In the variable annuity, you have market risk. And then you have, if you do have that guaranteed income like a pension, what I've seen is it's about half of what you can get in a different type of annuity altogether. So you're going to have low guaranteed income, high fees, and market risk. But that's the variable annuity. That's the variable, and that's where a lot of companies, there's a specific company that always talks about annuities are bad.
but what they're referencing are variable annuities. So just like there's good stocks and there's penny stocks, there's good bonds, there's junk bonds, there's all types of investments out there. There's good annuities and there's not so good annuities, in my opinion. There's fixed annuities, which are kind of more or less like in a way, kind of like similar to a CD, where they're short term. They pay a fixed interest rate, which could be 3-4%. Nothing super exciting, but it's safe. Doesn't
like
have any bells and
MIGA?
whistles. Kind of like a MIGA, a multi-year guaranteed annuity. So that can work for someone who says, hey, maybe I have a short-term need. I want to just make sure I have a certain amount of interest that's better than the savings account or CD. But what we're really focused on for that income planning is a fixed indexed annuity. And so what that means is you have complete principal protection. You can't lose any value, but on the upside, you're going to get some of the upside, not all of the upside, but you can still, depending on the account, expect maybe 5, 6, 7, 8% returns. I've seen higher and I've seen lower, but you can average between that 5 to 8% mark. But you're going to participate in different indexes, but you're not actually invested in the stock market. So the company absorbs the loss if the index goes down and they keep some of the upside. And that's how that works. Within those, depending on whether you have that income piece like a pension, you could be paying maybe around 1% in fees, which is a third or less than what you'd pay in a variable annuity. If you don't need that guaranteed income, you just want some safe growth, you could be paying 0%. So actually you could go from paying fees in your brokerage account to paying no fees in an indexed annuity, depending on if that's right for you. So again, it's a matter of, within that, if we say, hey, this might be a really great idea for your plan, how much? I've talked to people where they had an advisor who doesn't specialize in this, but says, hey, I know someone, they can basically sell you an annuity rather than provide a solution. You can move $500,000 to it. Well, why did they come? I asked, how did you come up with $500,000? Did they do an income plan? Well, no, they just threw out a number. So it's not about just throwing out a number and saying, hey, we can do this for you. It's about sitting down, looking at all your different income. What if the right amount is $400,000 or $350,000 or $550,000? So it's really about, are you looking for a guaranteed income? So how much do you need to put into that account to give us, if you need $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month or $5,000 a month, then you determine how much needs to go into that annuity and how much you want to still leave out. Because I am pro annuities for the right reasons, but I'm not quote unquote big on annuities. I'm big on finding the right balance and the right situation for each individual client based on the income sources they have, the expenses that they have ongoing in retirement, and finding out the right solution for them rather than trying to just push a product or an account or leave it on the market so that we make more on management fees throughout their retirement. So it's really about finding that right amount and really taking the time to go through that process and find the right mix.
Yeah, I think that's great. And the companies who provide annuities, the issuing insurance companies, and I know you work with, look at all the companies and what they have to offer, and the top rated companies, and the guarantees for the returns are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. And what's great about that is you work with the best companies, right? You look at the top rated companies to make sure they're good. And that's awesome. The fixed index annuity, I hear so much about that with so many people, all the baby boomers who have retired. It's a really popular retirement vehicle, and the competition has gotten so great amongst the companies that the deals have gotten really sweet on those. Like some have no fees. You have principal protection. So if the market goes down, you don't lose anything. But if it goes up, you can participate in gains. Maybe it's tied to the S&P. Is that right?
That is correct. All of what you just said is correct. And, the bottom line is speaking with a retirement income professional who specializes in actual retirement income planning to determine whether it's right for you. We've had people say, well, I talked to some people and my family, my friends, they say annuities are bad. But that same person might have a pension from a company, not realizing that pension that all their friends and family think is great, or maybe their advisor that helped them grow their assets during their working years says, oh, keep that pension, take that pension income. And they don't realize that is through an insurance company, through an annuity, a group annuity. So with a pension, not all, but the majority of pensions that are provided by companies are using group annuities with the same insurance companies that we can recommend on the individual side. The only difference is that with a pension, once you select that income, you can no longer access that cash value, and you have no choice. The company chooses the pension for you. They choose the annuity company and how that payout works, versus if you don't have a pension and maybe your employer offered you a 401k, now you have this lump sum of money. Or sometimes you might have a pension that offers a lump sum payout. You can now shop it out. So you can either take the pension offered by your company or shop it out on the private market. You might be able to find something where the same amount of money buys you $1,000 or more a month, or $500 more a month, or what have you. Plus, with these fixed index annuities, now the way that they work today is that you still technically can have access to that cash balance. So if down the road you say, this isn't for me, you want to take the money out, you can do that. Or you say, hey, it's an emergency, I need an extra $5,000. Your future income payments might be reduced proportionately, but you can have access to that. And if you pass away, whatever's left in the account goes to your beneficiaries, versus with a pension, with those group annuities, you don't have all those options.
Right.
And sometimes on the individual market, they might say, hey, and if you have a long-term care need, they might double the income potentially. So there's a lot more options with the individual side. So for those people that think annuities are bad, but they think their pensions are good, well, their pension is usually more than likely using a group annuity.
Sure.
So a group annuity is good, but an individual annuity is bad. That's to me doesn't add up.
Yeah,
So
and it doesn't make any sense because
misunderstanding.
it's really the opposite. And people love to hear about pensions. And if you're fortunate enough maybe to be a government employee, you might still get a pension. But regular pensions have gone the way of the pension, as I like to say. Pensions have gone the way of the pension because the buffalo have come back. The bison have come back. So my new phrase is it's gone the way of the pension. And people are like, man, I wish I had a pension. But you can create your own personal pension by using an annuity. And I think that's what you're saying there, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, is that there's confusion for reasons that are not necessarily in the best interest of the person. But that's what we do, is we look at what's the best interest for you, not what am I going to make the most money up front or long term. What is best for your income plan long term for your retirement to ensure that you don't run out of money. And so I think there's a lot of confusion, and part of it is because either they're offered for the wrong reasons, in the wrong situation, the wrong type. We had someone come over last year that had a variable annuity that was losing money, and we were able to prevent loss. We cut her fees in 1/3. So she was paying just over 3% of fees. Now is only paying 1%, and literally doubled the income. So for the same amount, even with she had a slight surrender charge. She had one more year left, but she was able to move that over and double her guaranteed lifetime income for her and her husband. So it's a joint life. It's not just for her, it's for both her and her spouse.
Yeah, so you can get principal protection, which is important. As you get older or in retirement, you don't want to be subject to market risk with all your money. And then you can also get guaranteed income. And again, when we say guaranteed, that is guaranteed by the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. And people say, well, the bank is FDIC insured. But actually, it's insured for up to $250,000. So if you have more than that, which the insurance companies have to have that money on hand as well, and the insurance companies themselves have insurance that can insure it up to that much. So I think it
has the guarantee the Guarantee Association Fund, and so that's different than the FDIC, but it has similar benefits for those that have an annuity. So
the amounts are similar. So that's really important to understand. And it's just one more advantage as a tool. But now everybody's situation is different. And you're always saying that, Shawna. So you would never recommend an annuity to somebody you haven't sat down with and found out, what are your goals? What is your life expectancy? What's your time horizon? Where are you at in the whole retirement process? Are you already in retirement? Are you going to retire in 5 years? How much do you have saved already? Do you have a lump sum, which most people now retire with a lump sum? But I like what you said earlier, and I want to remind our listeners, do you like Social Security and getting that check each month? Do you like that idea? Do you like the idea of a pension? Well, that's what an annuity is. I mean, it's basically the same thing. You pay into Social Security. When you retire, you get a guaranteed income for the rest of retirement. And that's why Social Security, no matter how little or how much you're getting out of Social Security, it's a base because it's a known amount that you're going to get every month that you can count on, that you know will be there. And that's what an annuity can provide as well, correct?
Exactly. It provides that peace of mind. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if that account balance reaches zero, that income continues, and there's no other account that can provide that. Your bank can't provide that. Once you spend out that last penny in your bank account or your CD, it's gone, and you have to start drawing from a different account. Same thing with your brokerage account. Once you have that income coming out, if you're spending down the account value or the market has a downturn and you're still taking the same amount every month, if it runs to zero, now you have to start taking it from another place. The annuity, though, if it runs to zero, they still pay that. They contractually pay that through the rest of your life and potentially for your spouse if you choose joint lifetime income. And so even if you lived 105 and the account balance runs out when you're 85, they're still going to pay that so you don't have to spend down your other assets.
Yeah, I used to joke with my grandfather. He passed away 2 years ago, but he was 101, and he was active and through until up to 3 months before he died. So he was out fishing and camping when he turned 101, and so he lived to 101. And I always joked around with him that said, Grandpa, if they had fixed index annuities when you were young, my age, or younger, actually, and you had gotten one, you would have made out like a bandit.
Exactly. Yep. And
you'd still be getting money. You would have spent down that. They would have spent down the money, and that insurance company would be regretting ever. If you're going to live to 100, you're going to be there's a good chance you're going to be taking the insurance company's money when it's all said and done, which is a funny thing. Now, not everybody's going to live as long as my grandpa or stay active right up until the end, but he did. So.
Right. And that's something that sometimes people have a concern about. Well, what if I don't live that long and I die early for something tragic happens? Well, whatever balance is still in that account will go to their beneficiaries. So it's not something that you lose versus, a pension. Sometimes if you receive a year worth of payments and you pass away, no one may get any of what was left in that.
Right. Most pensions, the spouse doesn't get anything. Yeah.
Exactly. And then also just, I'm a proponent for annuities for the right situation, but we also want to make sure that our clients have enough left in the stock market up to their invested, however their risk tolerance is, to make sure we have enough liquidity, we have an inflation hedge, so we have all these other things. So that's where it comes back to, again, it's not an all or nothing. It really should be the right balance based on your situation. And that balance can be different. It can be maybe you put 10% of your portfolio into an annuity, maybe it's 50%. It just depends on a lot of different factors, but the market is still an important piece in my opinion, for someone's retirement income plan. So it's not that I'm big on annuities. I think it's important, depending on the situation and how much we can determine together, and then make sure that the rest is still invested properly in the stock market, which obviously we won't go into on today's show, but we can talk about it in a future show.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, great show today, Shawna. I really like this topic, breaking it down, making sense of it. And it really does make so much sense, that balance you talk about. So if our listeners want to get a second opinion on where they're at with their investments or their insurance, or maybe they have an annuity that they feel isn't right for them, how can they get a hold of you to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation?
They can call us, Tony, at our toll-free number. That number is 833-4-MY-WEALTH. That's 833-469-9325. They can also check us out on our website. That's morewealthtalk.com. That's MOORE wealthtalk.com. It has our past podcasts. It has our phone number, our address, email. They can reach out to us and schedule an appointment. It has our calendar on there as well. And we can just schedule a 15-minute consultation, discuss their situation. And if it makes sense to get together from there, then we can go forward from there.
All right. And again, that's morewealthtalk.com, and Moore is spelled Moore. Well, thanks, Shawna. Appreciate that. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of More Wealth Retirement Talk with our host, Shawna Moore.
Thank you for joining us for More Wealth Retirement Talk. Don't head into retirement without a strategy that addresses both income and taxes. For more information, please contact Shawna and Dave Moore at Moore Wealth Management at 480-800-7077 or visit morewealthmanagement.net. Join us again soon for another episode of More Wealth Retirement Talk.
Advisory services are offered through More Wealth Partners, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through More Wealth Management, an affiliated company. More Wealth Partners and More Wealth Management are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administrations or any other government agency. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Federal Medicare Program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.